Thank you for being with us on Worcester, the city that reads, and we're talking about the principles of leadership. As Rocco and I were saying just a moment ago, he was telling us about the likability factor, also about the honesty factor for leaders. Sometimes when you're honest, maybe you aren't liked as much. You were talking about you have to be honest with yourself,
right.
Some self-evaluation.
Right.
Honest with your employees too. Do you have to sit down with those that you are leading and say, here's where it's not quite working out? And how does that go with the likability factor?
Yeah, I mean, again, once they get to know you, it's like I equate it to friendship. Okay, when you develop that relationship, you feel that you're required to provide that honesty to help that person. So if you have a conversation with someone, you want to be open and honest with them because they can learn that way. If you're lying about it and you're trying to hold back, they can't grow and succeed as individuals either. And ultimately, as a manager, as a leader, your success is solely determined by your people's success, and that's what drives me.
Now, Rocco, let's talk a little bit about this, about some times when you had some leaders who you felt weren't leading you in the right way, and maybe this kind of led to the revelation about being honest with yourself.
Right. Yeah. I've had some fun experiences, to say the least. Yeah, it's amazing because I find in many of those occasions that they were quick to point the blame. Yet they were fully involved in the situation, but didn't want to take any responsibility. And like anyone else, it drove me crazy. I just didn't think it was right. And that's part of the learning process. And when I got to meet my mentor, David Miller, he was never one to point fingers. He was more interested in resolving the problem. Because when you're pointing the blame at people, all you focused in on is the blame. Go back to that choice plus thought equals action. If I choose to think that it's Hank's fault, well then there's nothing for me to do. I can't do anything differently because there's nothing in my mind that makes me think that I have any responsibility to change what I might have done. So it's important to focus on the issue, to resolve the issue. You all learn. When you learn, you grow. When you grow, you succeed.
We're talking about the principles of leadership. What are some of the other principles that you have and that you put forward in the book?
Right. So we have the first one, which is apply self-discipline. The second is create open, honest conversation. Again, we were just talking about that. I find that a lot of people, even when they are talking to someone who knows what the truth is, they still lie about situations. Be a mentor is the third one. And to me, that's simply just help. When you have the opportunity to help, just help people out and help them to learn and grow. The fourth one is to seek the truth, and the fifth one is to genuinely care.
So they're all easily stated,
right.
Harder to carry through on. Be a mentor. Let's go to that one as number 3. And as you said, that's simply to help when somebody asks.
Right.
I've noticed that one thing that happens in life is that most people, if you go to someone and you ask for help, I'm going to say that most of the time that person is all too willing to help. And I'll challenge people to do an experiment as well. Call up somebody in central Massachusetts who runs a company. And it has to be something that you're interested in for this experiment to work properly. But ask them for help.
Right.
I have done this. I mean, people just cold called them out of the blue. And it is amazing to me how giving they will be of their time to try and help someone who is just on the other end of the phone, who they don't know, but who is showing an interest in the company and really will be a mentor to you. Now, it may be that they only have time for that one phone call or that initial thing, but people are willing to help. I find that most people don't ask.
Yeah, you know, I think part of my viewpoint, too, is that there's a lot of negativity thrown out on TV, quite frankly. I do believe in the soul of this country, and I believe that there's a lot of positive people that are willing to help. I think we all need to stand up and say, let's get to the forefront as opposed to being in the back and letting things evolve. I think we need to stand up and say, you know what, let's show everybody just how wonderful this country is. Let's take the opportunity to let people know that there's a lot of good going on right now. There's so much about the economy and everything else that a lot of people are getting thrown off of what really counts, and that's connecting with people, and that's what this book is about, and why I'm with you today and everything else, and connecting with people. And it's funny, I saw on MSN.com a couple of months ago, one of the broadcasters was sick and tired of the negativity and said something on the news about, I want to hear some positive stories. And this actually says a lot about what's going on in this country. They ended up getting inundated with people talking about positive situations, people who are trying to make a difference and everything else. And the headline said, we received so many positive stories that we can't keep up. And there's that word can't.
Right.
I can keep up, and I want to be that difference in this country that says, you know what, I want to show all these positive stories. You're on my email base. I try to send thought-provoking emails out to get people to realize that it really is choice. If you choose to believe you do have the time, you're going to make the time. If you choose to believe you do have responsibility, you're going to make responsibility. If you choose to believe you can make a difference, you will make a difference. And I'm very passionate about that. And that's why I want to keep on talking to people and keep on connecting and want you to help me and get other people to help me out to say, you know what, let me keep talking. A lot of people that keep on coming back to me and responding to emails say they like the way that I'm thinking and everything else. And I know that people appreciate that because there are a lot of good people out there. And we all have to unite and say, you know what, we need to stop doing what we're doing and start thinking a little bit differently, thinking positively, and thinking without boundaries.
Rocco, how did you find your mentor? How did you hook up?
He hired me. I applied for the job. We interviewed. He hired me, and it was a wonderful experience. I was actually at a crossroads, embarrassingly enough, at that time because of all the bad experience I'd had prior to that. I was debating on what kind of a quote-unquote leader I wanted to be because I had been, quite frankly, treated like crap going up until that point that I thought, okay, well, that's how it gets done. So I might as well do the same thing. And then Dave Miller came into my life, who was a breath of fresh air, and showed me this is the right way to do it.
So that was really, because you mentioned this earlier, so that was really your tipping point then, one of your tipping points in life.
Absolutely. From a professional perspective, it made me realize, okay, what you were attempting to think, no, that's not the right way to lead people. He showed me the right way. And again, there's a tribute to him because he had passed away a couple of years after he had retired. Right. And people were devastated, including me. But he touched people. That's why it goes back to that likability. People worked hard for him because they wanted to, they didn't want to do anything that would harm him and his success in any way, shape, or form. And they appreciated everything that he did for them because he was, again, he'd go around, he'd say hi to them, he'd talk to them, and get to know them on a personal level. So he knew them as people first, not just as business associates. And that, to me, goes a long way. But again, it's evolved because I believe that we need to take it to the next level and realize that we're all leaders and we all have to reach out and help one another to get through all of this.
What do you think holds most people back, Rocco? Is it right from step one that most people don't have the self-discipline to become leaders?
Yeah, to be honest with you, as I see it, yeah, I do. You know, I have many of my close friends now who still don't understand what I'm trying to say. For instance, they still smoke, and they don't believe they can quit smoking, or they're in bad relationships. They don't think they can get out of those relationships. And I'm trying to get them to realize it's your choice. It's nobody else's, and if you want to give that choice to somebody else, they'll take it.
Well, now you talk about choices, and you said that earlier. So I mean, and I understand that it's a choice then to pick up that cigarette and to smoke that cigarette, even though you know that it's bad for you, even though that you know that it could lead to health problems later on. But I mean, is it as simple as that? Because I mean, because here comes addiction, or here comes this pattern.
There could be more in some cases, but I believe in the power of the mind. See, we only use, as many of us know, 5% of our brains. And look what we've created in this country and in this world, okay? We've done quite a bit. I think it's time, and I've been calling this an evolution lately. I initially called it a movement. Now it's evolution. I think we need to challenge ourselves to expand our minds. Forget about technology, because look what we can do. We've already proven that. It's time that we start believing that we can use more of our minds. And that's where I'm coming from at this point. I think 95% is attainable, which 95 plus 5 is 100%. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm not foolish in any way, shape, or form. But the evolutionary process started sometime, was that spark that happened, and it was literally that fire that they realized, oh, I can cook food, and they started to grow from there. And I think we've gotten lackadaisical, and because of what we've created in this world. And I challenge people to remember this, okay? I think we're too close to animalistic instincts, quite frankly. And it's a simple choice and a thought away to destroy it all.
Much more on the principles of leadership straight ahead here on Worcester, the city that reads.